here we are again. Back to a place that I neglected to see for a very long time. So let me get my drink. And let me clean up a mess. It's time to go back to the story of... what is that child's name? Whatever. I don't get good views. I don't get anything good when I make these videos. But I do get something in my life. Knowledge. Time to open up, old friend. Place my bookmark right there. Where are my manners? Hello everyone, my name is Stonesy Boy, and today I'm reading. It's been a while, hasn't it? We last left off on page 22, even though every chapter is 20 pages. I guess I'll be reading 20 more. But that's fine, right? I don't know where we left off, but I have to say we left off on page 22. Because of course I would leave stuff on a cliffhanger. Now where was I? Oh yes. That side. I'm sorry we can't go to the vacation and have an awesome time. Oz. Things are hard right now. Where money's concerned, I'm sorry it affects you. You're a kid. You shouldn't have to worry about money. I'm hoping they'll move me to full-time at the store in the fall. That'll help a lot. If I get promoted to deli manager, it'll be another $50 an hour. Oswald knew he shouldn't say what he was about to say. But here he went anyway. Ben's dad's got a job that pays even better than his old job at the mill. Dad tightened up his grip on the steering wheel. Yeah? Well, and Ben's dad had to move 500 miles away to get that job. His voice sounded tight as his grip on the wheel, and Oswald would have how his jaw was clenched. Your mom and I talked about it, and we decided not to move, especially with your grandma living here and needing help sometimes. This is your home, kiddo, and things aren't perfect, but we just have to make the best of them. Oswald felt himself crossing the line from grumbling into grounding territory. Why did some people get the best of everything and others had to settle for free library visits and cheap pizza? And so every day you toss me out in the street like garbage. Wait. And so every day you toss me out in the street like garbage? Is this the best of things? I'd hate to see the worst. Now, son, don't you think that's a little dramatic? Oswald didn't stick around to hear the rest of his dad's criticism. He got out of the car and slammed the door. His dad sped away, probably glad to get rid of him. Just as he predicted, the library still didn't have the book he wanted. He flipped through a few magazines, the kind of the exotic jungle animals, which he usually liked, but they weren't doing much for him today. When his turn came for the computer, he put in his earbuds and watched some YouTube videos. But he wasn't in a good enough mood to laugh. At lunchtime, he sat in Jeff's Pizza with his slice and soda. Every day a cheese slice. If his dad wasn't so stingy, he'd give him another $1 so he can have pepperoni or sausage. I don't know what he's on about. I love cheese pizza. But no, it had to be the cheapest pizza you could get. Sure, money was tight, but really was another $1 a day going to break the bank. I don't know what he's on about, but Little Caesars, $5, and with the new cheese sticks, whatever, cheese breadsticks for like another $3. That's an $8 meal, which anywhere else like Marco's would cost you like $50 or at least 70. I'm just saying, man. Let me continue. Looking around the place, Oswald decided Ben was right. Jeff's pizza was creepy. There were those shadowy painted over figures on the walls, a dusty abandoned ball pit, and when he thought about it, Jeff was kind of creepy too. He looked 100 years old, but probably just 30, and those heavy-lidded bloodshot eyes, the stained apron, and the slow speech and movement. He was like a zombie pizza chef. Oswald thought about his argument with his dad that morning. Soon Dad would be texting him, expecting him to come outside to the car. Well, today was going to be different. Today, Dad would have to come and find him. There was one perfect place to hide. Oswald was going into the pit. The pit was pretty gross, really. Obviously untouched for years. The plastic spheres were covered in gray, fuzzy dust. But hiding there would be a great prank on his dad. His dad, who was always dropping him off and picking him up like somebody's dirty, like dry cleaning, would actually have to get out of the car and make some effort for a change. Oswald wouldn't make it easy for him either. Oswald took off his shoes. Yes, the ball pit was disgusting, but at least getting into it would make today different from all the other days that had come before. He climbed into the pit and felt the balls farting to make room for his body. He moved his arms and legs. It was a little like swimming, if you could swim in dry plastic spheres. He found his footing at the bottom of the pit. Some of the balls were strangely sticky, and he tried not to think about why. I mean, dust can get moisture, so it can't be spit. So, like, it can get moisture and get sticky, so they can get sticky together. Where was I? Try not to think about it. Why? If he was going to trick his dad, he was going to have to go all the way under. He took a deep breath, and as if he were about to jump into a swimming pool, and fell to his knees. That put him up to his neck. Wiggling round, he was sitting in the pit's floor, his head under two. The balls spread far apart, enough to where he could breathe, but it's dark, and it made him feel claustrophobic. The place stank of dust and mildew. Pink eye? Remember his mother's voice saying, "You're going to get pink eye." The smell was getting to him. Dust tickled his nose. He felt a sneeze coming on, but he couldn't move. His hands through the spears fast to reach his nose and muffle it. He sneezed 3 times, each one louder than the one before. Oswald didn't know if his dad was looking for him yet, but if he was, the sneezing ball pit would probably give him away. His location, besides, it was too dark, and too gross in there. He had to come up for air. As he rose, his ears were assaulted by the sound of beeping electronics and yelling and laughing kids. It took a few seconds for his eyes to adjust from the darkness of the pit and the brightness now surrounded him. Flashing lights, vivid colors. He looked around and muttered, "Toto? I don't think we're in Kansas anymore." Funny. The walls were lined with shiny arcade cabinets housing games he heard his dad talk about from his own childhood. Mrs. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Frogger, Cubert, Galaga. I need to play Cubert. A neon-lighted claw machine, displaying plush blue elf-like creatures and orange cartoon cats. He looked down at the pit and realized he was surrounded by little kids wallowing in the strange-looking, now brightly colored plastic ores. He stood over the preschoolers like a giant. He stepped out of the pit to find his shoes, but they were gone. Standing on the colorful carpet with the soft feet, he looked around. There was a lot of kids his age, younger, but there was something different about them. Everyone's hair was styled and fluffy. The boys wore polo shirts and the colors lots of guys won't be caught dead in. like pink or aqua. The girl's hair was almost unbelievably big, with bangs that stood from their foreheads like claws. They wore pastel-colored tops and matched their pastel-colored shoes. The colors, the lights, the sounds, it was sensory overload. And what was that music? Oswald looked around to see where it was coming from. Across the room on a small stage, a trio of animatronic animals, blinking their big blank eyes, opened and closed their mouths, and provided back and forth in sync with a jangly, annoying song. There was a brown bear, a blue rabbit with a red bow tie, and some type of bird girl. They remained They reminded Oswald of the mechanical animals he caught himself drawing lately. The difference was that he could never decide if the animals in his drawings were cute or creepy. These were creepy. Strangely though, the dozen or so little kids surrounding the stage didn't seem to think so. They were wearing birthday party hats with pictures of the characters on them, and dancing and laughing and having a great time. When the smell of pizza hit Oswald's nose, he understood. He was still in Jeff's Pizza, more accurately, what Jeff's Pizza had been before Jeff took over. The ball pit was new and not roped off. All the outlets on the wall had arcane games plugged into them, and he turned around to face the left wall. Shapes of shadows upon the wall of Jeff's Pizza was a mural of the same characters performing on the stage: the brown bear, the blue rabbit, and the bird girl. Below their faces were the words Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Oswald's inside turned to ice water. How had this happened? He knew where he was, but he didn't know when it was or how he got there. Somebody bumped into him, and he jumped more than as normal. Since he felt like physical contact, this must not be a dream. He couldn't decide if this fact was good or news or not. Sorry, dude. No, it's like 80s. Sorry. No. Okay. Sorry, dude, the kid said. He was about Oswald's age, and he was wearing a light yellow polo with the collar turned into look like a pair of Dad's jeans. The white tennis shoes he had were huge, like clown shoes. He looked as if he'd spent a long time fixing his hair. Are you okay? Yeah, sure, Oswald said. He wasn't sure he was okay, actually, but he didn't know how to begin explaining this situation. I've not seen you here before, the kid said. Yeah, Oswald said, trying to figure out an explanation that wouldn't sound too weird. I'm just visiting here, staying with my grandma's for a few weeks. This place is great, though. All these old games. Old games, kid said, raising an eyebrow. You're joking, right? I don't know where you're from, but Freddy's is the newest games around here. That's why the lines to play them are so long. Oh yeah, no kidding, Oswald said, because he couldn't think of anything else to say. He had heard his dad talk about this place playing games, and he was a kid. Absurdly hard games, he said, on which he had wasted many hours and many quarters. I'm Chip, the kid said, running his fingers through his poofy hair. Me and my buddy Mike, he nodded at, with a tall black kid wearing huge eyeglasses and a shirt with wide red and blue stripes. We're about to play some skee-ball. Want to come with? Sure, Oswald said. It was nice to hang around some other kids, even if they seemed to be kids from other time. He didn't think this was a dream, but it sure was a weird one. You got a name? Mike said, looking at Oswald like he was some type of strange specimen. Oh, sure, I'm Oswald. He had been too weirded out to remember to introduce himself. Mike gave him a friendly slap on the back. Well, I've got to warn you, Oswald. I'm the best at skee-ball, but I'll go easy on you since you're new here. Thanks for having mercy on me, Oswald said. He followed him to the skee-ball area. On the way, they passed somebody in a rabbit suit that looked like a yellow version of the animatronic rabbit on the stage. I'm just gonna continue until I'm done with this page. To the rabbit guy. So no one's paying attention to the rabbit guy, so Oswald didn't say anything. It was probably a Freddy Fazbear employee dressed up to entertain little kids at his birthday party. His skin was weirdly purple. That's not in the book. I just like saying that. Mike wasn't kidding about being the best at skee-ball. He easily beat Chip and Oswald 3 times. But he was a good sport, and they spent a whole time joking around. It felt like good being included. But after another couple of games, Oswald started to worry. What time was it really? How long had his dad been looking for him? And how was he getting back to his real life? Sure, he wanted to give Dad a little scare, but he didn't know it would scare the old man so much he got the police involved. Hey guys, I better run. My grandma, he almost said, just texted me, but realized Chip and Mike would have no idea what he's talking about. Whenever it was, there were still no cell phones. My grandma's supposed to pick me up in a few minutes. Okay, dude, maybe we can catch up later, Chip said, and Mike gave a little nod and wave. Oswald left his companion stood in a corner in his sock feet and wondered what to do. He was having some kind of magical experience, as he was late getting back and he was missing his shoes. He was like some kind of mixed up guy Cinderella. I'm putting my bookmark here, but this does not mean I'm done. So, usually, every 10 pages, this was only 8, but I did do 2 pages before, which was my mistake, and I knew I was going to regret it. But, let's think about this. I cannot open my drink. Let's think about this for a second. He saw a bunny. And thought it was a cashier. That is so much better. And had thought of nothing of it. So, a ball pit. Put him back in time. And made him see the bunny. Now, if none of you know what Five Nights at Freddy's is about, you don't know what I'm talking about. Bunny is not a character you would think of knowing. But, let me tell you something funny. The bunny is a very substantial character. Because the bunny is the murderer. Now let me explain. Actually, this video would be 3 hours long if I explained. Basically, Bunny did bad, did the killing, and then the children did the killing on him. That's all we really need to know. Go watch Game Theorist. I'll put them in the description. I don't care. Where was I? Oh yeah, sorry, I just had a big old drink. Hope y'all been able to hear me so far. Cool. Anyways, that is very bad. So in the next 10 pages, someone might get murdered, someone might not. But if you were asking me, I think what is happening in this book, me personally as a man of some wisdom, I say he's hallucinating. Now, you could argue the fact that, well, what about the fact that he doesn't know what time he is? And that he knows about a bunny, a chicken, and a rabbit. Or a bird girl and a rabbit. Well, I'm not that smart, but when I see Chica, I think of a chicken. Or, well, if I see that, I think of a chicken. So what I think is happening is he's hallucinating very, very badly because of the dust. It's sticky because it has so much water in it. The water could be contaminated. The contamination went into the dust. The dust was already contaminated. It went into his skin pores. He passed out by the heat. That's why he needed air, right? So, he's hallucinating a dream from his father's memories. If that makes any sense. So, his father, while he's growing up, could have told him about his childhood. Like his childhood friends, Chip and Mike. So, then you can argue, wait, what about the rabbit? Well, he could have just said, when asking him, was there any strange things in his childhood, he could have said, well, there was always this yellow rabbit, but no one ever noticed him, so I never noticed him. Okay? Now, I could be totally debunked in the next 10 pages, but we shall see about that. Let me have one more big gulp. Orange Gatorade is the best thing ever. Hey, maybe I'll have a Five Nights at Freddy's character be in this, my Smash series. That'd be funny. But who? Who would I have? What character? Can't be a joke character. It has to be like a character everyone knows. So that would leave it to the 4: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy, maybe? To be honest, me personally, I think it should be Freddy. But his different skins are different Freddys. You get what I mean? It'd be not so hard to make, but it'd be interesting. Where was I? Oh, yes. How to get back? You could walk in the front door of Freddy Fazbear's, but where would that take him? It might be the right place to find his dad's car waiting. But it wasn't the right time. Not the right decade, even. Then it dawned on him. Maybe the way out was the same way he got in. At the ball pit. And Mom was telling her 2 little kids it was time to leave. They tried to argue with her, and she turned on her stern mom voice and threatened them with an early bedtime. Once they got out, he got in. He sank beneath the surface before anyone could see that kid over the height limit in the ball pit. How long to stay under? Randomly, he decided to count up to 100, then stand. He rose his feet and found himself standing in the dusty, roped-off ball pit of Jeff's Pizza. Climbed out and found his shoes right where he left them. His phone vibrated in his pocket. He took it out and read, "We'll be there in 2 minutes." Had no time passed at all? He headed out the door and Jeff called, "See you, kid," behind him. "This looks great, Mom," Oswald said, spearing a sausage link with his fork. "You're in a good mood today." Mom slid a waffle onto his plate. Quite a contrast from yesterday. I should give her a voice. Quite a contrast from yesterday when you're Mr. Glumpet Pants. Yes, she is Scottish. Not because I can't do a girl voice, it's because I can't do a girl voice. See, there's a difference. So I'm not going to do a girl voice, I'm going to do a Scottish voice. Of course I am. Yeah, Oswald said. "They're supposed to be getting my book in the library today." The statement was true, but it wasn't the reason Oswald was in a good mood. Of course it wasn't like he could tell her a real reason if he said, "I discovered a ball pit at Jeff's Pizza that lets me travel time." Mom would be dropping the waffles and picking up a phone to the nearest child physiologist. Oswald picked up the book at the library, but was too impatient to read it. Get over to Jeff's Pizza as soon as it was open at 11. Jeff was in the kitchen when he got there, so he made a beeline for the pit. He shucked off his shoes, stepped in, and sank into the depths. Since it had seemed to work before, he counted to 100 before he stood. An animatronic was playing some weird jangly song that was particularly drowned out by the beeping, bleeping, and dinging of varied video game. He wandered the floor and took in the video games The whack-a-mole, the neon lighted token suckers that let you win some tickets, but probably not if you push the buttons at the right time. Older kids crowded around the video games. Preschoolers climbed on the crayon-colored play equipment. Pink eye, Oswald thought, though he had no room to talk, the way he was diving into the ball pit these days. Everyone looked as it had before. He had even caught sight of a calendar hanging on the open office that helped him pinpoint the date, 1985. Hey, it's Oswald. Chip was wearing a baby blue polo and with his dad's jeans and giant sneakers this time. Not a hair on his head was out of place. Hey, that's Mike. Els, Mike said. He was wearing a Back to the Future t-shirt. Anybody ever tell you that you look like the Wizard of Oz? They do now, Oz said, grinning. He had gone from having the loneliest summer ever to having 2 new friends and a nickname. True, all of these seem to be happening in the mid 1980s, but why get hung up on the details? Hey, Chip said. We just ordered pizza. You want to come have some? We ordered a large, so there's more than we can eat. Speak for yourself, Mike said, but he was grinning. Okay, Chip said. How about I say it's more than we should eat? Wanna join us? Oswald was curious about Freddy Fazbear's pizza compared with Jeff's. Sure, thanks. On the way to the table, they passed someone in the same yellow rabbit suit who was standing in the corner, still as a statue. Chip and Mike either didn't see him or ignored him. So Oswald tried to ignore him as well. You see what I'm saying? His father ignored him, so is Oswald. So he's living the life that his father is, technically. Which doesn't really explain the picture, but you know what, that's fine. Or ignored him. But why hide in the corner like that, though? If he worked for the restaurant, surely he wasn't supposed to act all creepy. At the table, a young woman with a big blonde hair and blue eye shadow served him a large pitcher of soda. In the background, the animatronic band played on. The pizza was pepperoni sausage with a crispy crust. A nice change from plain cheese slices. Hey, watch your mouth. Cheese is good. You know, Mike said between bites. When I was little, I loved Freddy Fazbear's band. I even had a stuffed Freddy I used to sleep with. Now I look up at the stage, and those things give me the creeps. Funny you should say that. I have a plush bunny behind me. Funny. He's sick. Where was I? Oh yeah. It's weird, huh? How stuff you like as a little kid gets creepy when you're older. Chip helped himself another slice. Like clowns. Yeah. Like clowns? Yeah, or dolls, Mike said between bites. Sometimes I look at my sister's dolls all lined up on the shelf in her room. It's like they're staring at me. Or like that guy in the yellow rabbit costume, Oswald thought. But he didn't say anything. After they demolished the pizza, they played some skee-ball. Mike's mopping the floor with them again, but being really nice about it. Oswald didn't worry about time anymore because apparently time here didn't pass the same way as his own time zone. After skee-ball, they took turns playing air hockey in pairs. Oswald was surprisingly decent at it, and even managed to beat Mike once. When they started to run low on tokens, Oswald thanked them for sharing their wealth and said he hoped to see them again soon. they said their goodbyes, Oswald waited until no one was looking and disappeared into the pit. Hanging out with Chip and Mike turned into a regular thing. Today, we weren't even playing games. They were just sitting at a booth, drinking sodas and talking, trying to ignore the animatronic animals' annoying music as much as they could. You know what movie I liked? Chip said. His polo shirt was peach-colored today. Oswald loved the guy, but you don't know his own shirt wasn't the color of an Easter egg. The entire song. Seriously? Mike says, pushing his huge glasses up on his nose. The movie is so boring. I was like, the eternal song is the perfect title for this movie because I don't think it's ever gonna get end. They all laughed, and then Chip said, "What do you think of it, Oz?" I haven't seen that one. He said that a lot when hanging out with Chip and Mike. Oswald always listened to them talk about movies and shows that they liked. When they mentioned one which he didn't know, he'd look it up online when he got home. He'd make a list of 80s movies he wanted to watch and check the TV listings on the DVR to see them and knew them might be showing. Oswald participated in Chip and Mike's conversation as much as he could. It was kind of like being a foreign exchange student. He sometimes had to fake his way through by smiling and nodding and being generally agreeable. Man, you need to get out more, Mike said. Maybe you can go to the movies with Chip and me sometime. That'd be cool, Oswald said. Because what else could he say? Actually, I'm from a distant future, and I don't think it's physically possible for me to see any place but in Freddy Fazbear's in 1987, 85. They'd both think that was a kind of joke on Mike, because his favorite movie was Back to the Future. Name one movie you've seen that you really like, Chip said. Name one movie that you've seen that you really like, Chip said to Oswald. I'm trying to figure out what your taste is. Oswald's mind went black. What was the movie from the 80s? E.T.? E.T.? Mike slapped the table laughing. E.T. was like 3 years ago. You really do need to get out more. Do they not have a movie theaters where you come from? They do, Oswald thought, and they have Netflix and PlayStation and YouTube and social media, but he didn't say it. Of course, there was technology. Chip and Mike talked about he had only Vegas knowledge of like VCRs, bloom boxes of cassette tapes, and he constantly had to remind himself not to talk about things like cell phones and tablets and the internet. He tried not to wear t-shirts with characters and references that might confuse them or the other customers in 1985 Freddy Fazbear's. Yeah, we definitely needed to bring you up to date, Chip said. If you only knew, Oswald thought. Hey, you want, do you want to go play some games? Mike said. I feel like skee ball's calling me. But I promise I will go easy on you guys, Chip laughed. No, you don't. You'll murder us. You'll murder us. Funny. Get it? Because he says you'll murder us. Oh, God. You guys go ahead, Oswald said. I think I'll just stay at the table. What, and watch the show, Mike said, nodding in the direction of the creepy characters in the stage. Is something wrong? Have you suddenly decided you like Freddy Fazbear's music? We need to get you help fast. Wait, who said that? Probably Chip, but I won't do that again. Nah, nothing wrong, Oswald said, but really, something was. For the first few visits to 1985 Freddy Fazbear's, it hasn't even occurred to him that he'd constantly mooching off Chip and Mike's generosity because he never had any money of his own. And even if he wasn't broke in his own time zone, would the money he brought from the present day even work in 1985? It's kind of pitiful, being broke in 2 decades. Well, technically, decade's 10 years, so that's 1985, so that this book is set in 2005, so technically speaking, $1 would be like $20 to us now, so I guess it wouldn't. Finally, he said, I just feel like I'm always taking your money because I never have any. Hey, dude, it's cool. Hey, dude, it's Kale. God, that sounded like Cartman. Hey, dude, mate. Hey, dude, it's Kale, Chip said. We haven't even noticed. You're Mike said. We just figured your grandma never gave you any money. I know my grandma doesn't accept it when it's my birthday. They were being really nice, but Oswald still felt embarrassed. If they had talked about his lack of money, that meant they had to notice. How about I just go hang out with you while you play, Oswald said. When he stood up, he felt a strange heaviness in his pockets. Something in them that was heavy. He felt like his jeans might fall down. He reached in the pockets and pulled out double handfuls of 1985 Freddy Fazbear game tokens. He produced a handful after handful and dumped them on the table. Or we could play using all these, he said. He had no idea how to explain the magic that just occurred. I guess I forgot I was wearing these pants. The ones that have all the tokens in them. Chip and Mike looked a little confused, but then they grinned and started raking coins in the table into their empty soda cups. So you're telling me this kid can not only go back to the future, which is a funny joke, but also produce coins. Anyway, this poopy doopy is very confusing. In the morning, as Dad was driving him to the library, Oswald asked, Dad, how old were you in 1985? I was a couple of years older than you, Dad said. Other than baseball, all I could think about was many quarters. How many quarters I could spend in an arcade. Why do you ask? No reason in particular, Oswald said. I've just been doing some research at Jeff's Pizza. Back before it was Jeff's Pizza. Some kind of arcade, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Dad's voice sounded strange, nervous. Maybe he was quiet for a few seconds and then said, but it closed. Like everything else in this town, Oswald said. Pretty much, yeah. Dad said, pulling in the front of the library. Maybe it was just Oswald's imagination, but it seemed like his dad was relieved to get to their destination so he wouldn't have to answer any more questions. 11 o'clock sharp. Oswald headed over to Jeff's Pizza, and as had become his habit, with Jeff nowhere in sight, Oswald proceeded to the pit. After his count to 100, he stood. There were noises, but not the usual ones. Freddy Fazbear screams. Oh, viewers that are watching this, I got good news, I got bad news. Good news, the juicy stuff, finally here. Freddy Fazbear, as we know, loving, screaming nonsense. Bad news is page 40. That means chapter 2 is going to be left on a cliffhanger, which sucks. The usual ones are Freddy Fazbear's. Screaming, crying, children, yells for help, the fast footballs of people running, chaos. Were Mike and Chip here? Were they okay? Was anybody here okay? He was afraid. Part of him wanted to disappear back into the pit. He was worried about his friends. Also, he was burning with curiosity about what was going on, even though he knew whatever it was horrible. He wasn't in danger, he told himself, because this was the past. Time way before he was born. His life couldn't be in danger in a time before he even existed. Could it? Anyways, his stomach in knots, he moved through the crowd, past crying mothers running with their toddlers in their arms, past dads grasping children's hands and leading them swiftly toward the exit, their faces masked with shock. Uh-oh! Uh-oh, I might know what's happening. Chip? Mike? He called, but his friends were nowhere to be seen. Maybe they haven't come to Freddy Fazbear today. Maybe they were safe. Scared but feeling as if he knew what happening, Oswald walked the opposite direction from everyone else, escalating feeling of dread. In front of them stood a man in the yellow bunny costume. If it was a man under there, the bunny opened a door that said private, went inside. Oswald followed. Oh, Lord! That is the end of the page. Ladies and gentlemen, Oswald followed the strange man in the yellow suit. Oh, I am so hyped for the next reading. You have no idea. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That dumb big brain non brain followed him into the room that said private. This yellow bunny with purple, that small shade of purple, a yellow bunny into a room that says private. Now, if you wanted to know what I was thinking, I thought the bite of 87 happened. Which does bear the question. Oh! Whoops. I might have just gave that away. So that might have happened? Wait, 87. No, that's 85. So, couldn't have been. Right? Whatever. But yeah, that is seriously where we leave it off. Oh my god. This is gonna be good. Yeah, we are done with chapter 2. Wow. I'm actually kind of hyped for the next chapter. I've never been hyped for books. Like, the only book I've ever been actually hyped for was Islands of the Blue Dolphins, because that is such a banger of a book. I know it's super duper old, but oh my goodness. That book was so good. It's like 130 pages, but it's such a good read. If you ever want a book to read and you're like have nothing better to do, you have video games but you already beat them all. If you want a book to read Islands of the Blue Dolphins. That is such a good book. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let's hope Oswald will survive this. But if he doesn't, well, I mean, we still have a bunch of more pages to go. At least 10 more chapters. So, no, it has to be at least 5. Yeah, at least 5 more chapters to go. So, that's where I'm leaving it now. Oswald followed the man. I cannot stress that. Oswald followed him. Oswald did follow him. Oh, but, yeah. Sorry to leave you on the cliffhanger. Have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Be polite. Be efficient. And, let's hope our buddy Oswald makes it out alive.